Come have fun with us and don't forget to subscribe.
What's up everybody, I'm Rick.
And I'm Anna.
And welcome to our review of the 1936 movie Romeo and Juliet. So for those of you who don't know, this is our bucket list channel, a channel in which we try to realize the goals and dreams that are on our bucket list. One of those goals is to watch every movie that was nominated for Best Picture at the Academy Award from 1927 to 2028. 101 years of Best Picture nominees. And as of now, we've watched 74 of those. Today, we're going to be talking about the 74th, Romeo and Juliet. This MGM take on Shakespeare's tragic play came out on August 20th, 1936. The movie tells the classic tale of young Romeo, a Montague, who falls in love with the radiant Juliet, a member of the Capulet family, the Montague's sworn enemies. Willing to defy the family feud, the two secretly get married. However, the happy day turns tragic when Juliet's cousin, Tybalt, kills Romeo's best friend, Mercutio, prompting Romeo to retaliate. Classic tale, Anna. You know, we've all heard
Tale as old
the
as
story,
time.
exactly. Seen a version of it. Have you ever seen a version of it before this one?
I'm pretty sure I saw like a modern movie version of it.
The one with Leo DiCaprio?
Oh yeah, I saw that one.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
That's an interesting one. But yeah, there are countless versions of them, like plays, musical, movies, etc. I'm sure you knew the whole story beforehand.
Yeah, I've read it.
Yeah,
too.
okay. So nothing was new here
No, absolutely.
apart from the take.
Right.
And so what did you think of it?
It was surprisingly like by the book.
Yeah.
It wasn't really a movie adaptation so much as a movie version of a theater play, in my opinion. Which was very interesting to watch. We've seen something similar before on this
With
list,
another
actually.
Shakespeare
Yeah.
adaptation.
Midsummer Night's Dream. I'm intrigued by this kind of movie adaptations of plays where really it's like a play on film. Because I feel like it's something that you don't really see in modern cinema,
Yeah.
right? I don't know where exactly they abandoned this idea, but I haven't seen it much lately.
I've got some information about that. I mean, we can get into it right away
Okay,
since we're
sure.
talking about it. So you're asking me, like, why do modern movies don't really do that kind of
Right.
film anymore that is very much just a play but filmed with the dialogue as a play as Shakespeare wrote it. Cut, of course, they cut a lot of it. It's because people don't really go to see those.
Okay, I see.
The public is not really fond of these in general. So when this movie came out in 1936, reviews were mixed. You know, some reviewers loved it, and in general, they thought it was, you know, either too long or too faithful or not faithful enough. You know,
Okay.
and on the side of the moviegoers, they just thought it was too artsy. You know.
Oh, I see what you mean.
And they didn't go to see it. The movie was not a big financial success. Neither was A Midsummer Night's Dream. So much so that for 10 years after this movie, they stopped making that type of film.
Okay. Oh, it was that bad? I mean, to be honest, I like seeing theater. In a theater. I feel like if I wanted to see that, I would rather see it on stage rather than in a movie version, you know? It's true that it's a bit bizarre to be in between the two, you know?
I guess it's because the film format allows you to, you know, be a bit more expressive with the imagery, you know, have stuff move. And on one hand, like I said, some of the reviewers were like, oh, this is not faithful enough, you know, they're too old or whatever their criticism might be. And you'll always have both crowds. If you try to take a play and adapt it, which a lot of the movies we've watched, by the way, were plays originally, but they adapted as movies, you know. But if you try to take a play and adapt it, or a book, or anything else, there's always something that is lost. And then you have to weigh, is the thing that I gain big enough to warrant making this movie, you know?
I see what you mean, yes.
And in this case, I don't feel like the movie brings
anything
new or interesting that makes you say, this is why this needed to be a movie and not a play.
It's the same thing that you would get watching a play, like in a theater, minus the experience of it actually being live and in front of you.
Yeah.
And plus nothing.
Exactly.
And I feel like there are certain issues that kind of poked me as I was watching the movie that I feel I would have overlooked easily if it was a play on stage, but I can't overlook them as quickly in a movie, like discrepancies in the characters' appearance
versus what the story dictates.
Exactly,
they should be. Yeah.
exactly. The main female character, Juliet, was played by Norma Shearer,
Who is much
who is
older.
much older than
Juliet is supposed to be.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. So it kind of bugs you.
We're talking about the actors, so just let's take a look at who is our crew here in this Romeo and Juliet adaptation. The movie was directed by George Cukor, who was also the director of 1 Hour with You, Little Women, and David Copperfield. So lots of adaptation in his book and his repertoire. Like you mentioned, the main role, well, one of the main roles, the main female role, Juliet, is played by Norma Shearer. And of course, we've seen her a lot. We've seen her in the Hollywood Review of 1929, where she plays Juliet.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that was the first time we saw her.
I did not remember.
We've also seen her in The Divorcee and Smiling True and The Barrett of Wimpole Street. Of course, one of our favorite. It's interesting because Norma Shearer retires in 1942. And so this is going to be the last movie for the series that we see her in, because her other movies were not nominated for Best Pictures. Meaning
Too
that
bad.
The first time we saw her, she was playing Juliet, and the last time we see her, she is playing Juliet once again. What did you think of her?
I really like her. I'm actually sad that we're not gonna see her anymore in like for this series. I'm definitely gonna go watch other movies with her. So in this movie, I feel like she managed to capture the feeling of Juliet. But as I said, if I saw her on stage playing Juliet, it wouldn't have bothered me as much. But in the movie, it didn't strike me as Juliet.
Yeah.
She didn't look the part.
She's obviously 30-something.
It's not only the age that is an issue. It's also her demeanor. I feel like she's not really made to play young, innocent.
She has too much confidence, you know.
Exactly. She's a strong, independent woman. That's how we've seen her in other movies before. And now we see her here, you know, in this role that feels like it doesn't match with her character.
No, definitely. I will echo that. Nothing in her performance was bad per se, but it just is not what you would expect the character to look like, or even like the posture. You know, it's in little details like that when someone is more confident with themselves. And then Romeo, the other main character, is played by Leslie Howard, that we've seen in Smiling True. Any thoughts on his portrayal, which I kind of felt was more fitting in a sense?
Maybe because I don't really have much of an image of this actor already. I still feel like
he's too old.
He's too old for the character. But he did play the part pretty well, in my opinion.
Yeah, me too. I'd say that I like Norma in here, but I liked him more. We also had John Barrymore, who played Mercutio. We saw him in the Grand Hotel. He was the Baron. But yeah, John Barrymore had been drinking heavily during filming of this movie. And the producer, Irving Thalberg, insisted that he lives in a real house where he could be monitored.
Because he was drinking.
Because he was drinking heavily during the filming. Despite those precautions, though, Barrymore was still able to get some alcohol and was drunk in several of the scenes that they filmed.
I couldn't tell. Really. Not really. I feel like it worked with the character. Like maybe he managed to mask it in the just the performance, the character's behavior.
Because the character is this playboy party.
Exactly. Like not very serious kind of character. So maybe he could play it that way. But yeah, I couldn't tell.
Originally, the character is also supposed to be much younger, which was a criticism that I saw in some reviews of the time. Because John Barrymore, when they filmed this, was like in his 50s. And so the age difference there is even more so than Juliet and Norma or Romeo and Howard.
But I feel like with all the characters who in the story are supposed to be young, you can obviously tell they're adults.
Mm-hmm.
The actors. It's pretty striking.
Yeah. But some of them are not all supposed to be young. We have also the character of the nurse.
Oh, yes.
Here, played by Edna May Oliver. This is
Amazing.
I was saying this is my favorite character
Me too.
in this
I agree.
adaptation. We remember, of course, from Cimarron, Little Women, and David Copperfield. She's always great.
She is. That is true.
She always kind of imposes herself on the screen. Like whenever there's a scene with her in it, you know she's there.
I was reading about her, and I think she actually came from stage. So she does give off that feeling.
She refused another role in order to play the role of the nurse here, and this would be the only Shakespearean movie she would do. But someone else was also very important to the making of this movie. I've mentioned him.
Shakespeare?
Yes, Shakespeare, of course. But the producer Irving Thalberg, that I've mentioned a bit before because he was trying to stop Barrymore from drinking, he personally wanted that movie to be made. He argued or pushed for it to be made for 5 years with MGM, yeah. This was the last movie that he personally produced before his death. And in case we haven't mentioned it in other movies, but I'm sure we talked about it, he is the husband of Norma. But yeah, he really pushed for that movie, and it was very important for him that the movie be as faithful as possible. So much so that he sent people to Verona to take pictures so that the set designer would have something to work from.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. And he even brought scholars who were familiar with the works of Shakespeare to the filming set so that they could criticize the movie at any moment and tell them like what needed to be changed. So this was very important for him, but like we saw earlier, it didn't pan out. But yeah, in the end, MGM accepted to do the movie after A Midsummer Night's Dreams was made by Warner so that they wouldn't like lose out. Like, oh no, we're also gonna have our own Shakespeare movie. Both of these movies were not a huge success commercially, so they stopped making them in that way. But still, critically, I said it was mixed reviews, but still it got nominated for a lot of Academy Awards. 4, in fact.
Oh, okay.
Outstanding Production or Best Picture. Also Best Actress for Norma. Best Supporting Actor for Basil Rathbone. And Best Art Direction for Cedric Gibbons, Frederick Hope, and Edwin B. Willis.
I can see art direction.
Yeah.
Yeah, the set, everything, the costumes too.
They didn't win any of the awards. And in terms of a legacy, this movie has been put on a lot of, top lists. The New York Times put it on its top 1,000 movies list and stuff like that. But in general, it's not remembered as fondly as other Shakespeare adaptation. Cukor, the director, was interviewed in 1970 and said that this was one of the movies he wanted to redo the most, asked if there was one movie you could redo. And he said that if he were to do it again, he would know now how to do it correctly.
Yeah, I feel like to just put a theater play on film is a very simple take of, edit. You have to adapt things for the screen. It looks different. The feeling of the audience is different,
So Anna, before we rank this movie, is there anything else you'd like to talk about?
Yes, I want to say that about the dialogue, which of course is taken directly from the play, from Shakespeare's play. I feel like it translated better in this movie if I think compared to Midsummer Night's Dream.
Mm-hmm.
I liked it better here. I feel like it worked better in the story and everything.
I think it's also the nature of Midsummer Night's Dream that it's so fantastical that
probably
it adds a layer of difficulty for you to just grasp the situation with this dialogue. That's not how people regularly talk now.
Exactly.
And here, it's simpler.
The story itself.
The story is simpler.
Yes,
yeah.
true. So I guess maybe that is why, but I wanted to point it out.
And we've been talking this whole time about how they didn't really add anything. They just put the text as was and cut a lot of it and then filmed the scene as if they were filming a play, but just with movie material and movie sets. And still, I kind of enjoy listening to that Shakespearean dialogue, you know?
Yeah, it is very enjoyable. And I feel like if you think of this movie more as a play than as a movie, it works even better.
Works well, yeah. Because even after all we've said, I don't feel like the movie is bad in any way. I just feel like it doesn't really convince you of why it needed to be made. Speaking of, would you recommend this take on Romeo and Juliet?
I feel like it's interesting for what it is, especially because you said they didn't make a lot of these movies. I feel like it's an interesting experience, and so for that reason I would say sure, go watch it, but maybe don't have big expectations. I wouldn't necessarily recommend it just as a movie, like as a Shakespeare adaptation or anything like this. Like you said, there are others, many that are better than this.
I would say, in a sense, if you're gonna watch this one, go find a play, you know. Now it is time for us to rank this movie. Of course, for every Academy Award year, we rank the movies that were nominated for Best Picture, kind of to compare our own ranking with the winner of that year and see if we agree with it. We don't have the Academy's
Spoiler alert, we
ranking.
usually don't.
Yeah. So, as of now, our ranking is at number 6, Anthony Adverse. At number 5, Libel Lady. At number 4, The Story of Louis Pasteur. At number 3, Mr. Deed Goes to Town. At number 2, Dodsworth. And at number 1, San Francisco. San Francisco. So, Anna,
yes,
where would you put this one?
I don't know, where would you put it?
So, I'm hesitating right now between 7 and 6. So, either below Anthony Adverse or above.
I think I would agree with either one of those.
And now, I don't have issues with this movie apart from, you know, the age of the actors and stuff like that. It's just that the movie was a known quantity.
Right.
As soon as you knew Romeo and Juliet, this is exactly what you got, but with older actors. And meanwhile, Anthony Adverse, you know, even though it's based on a property, it tries some stuff. It has, you know, some ambitions. A lot of them fall flat, in my opinion.
Can we tie them? After you mentioned this, if I had to choose now, I would say maybe it would be number 7. Because I feel like I'm a lot less impressed with a movie that doesn't try anything.
Than a movie that tries but fail.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess. And both cases, it's an adaptation, you know?
Yeah.
And so, even though one is from a book, one is from a play, so it's different type of adaptation. But Anthony Adverse tries to do something.
And I feel like for its worst parts, Anthony Adverse did have some elements that were interesting. The first half of the movie didn't have as many issues.
Yeah, it's the middle part that falls apart. But mainly because they badly adapted the material, so that's the thing. While Romeo and Juliet adapts the material too well.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so where would you put it?
I'm gonna put it above Anthony Adverse, in my opinion. Yeah, because in both cases, like I said, they're adaptations. And so the goal and stated goal by the producer was to adapt. And he succeeded. Apart from a few details about the age of the characters, he succeeded. And sure, they cut almost 50% of the dialogue.
And even then, I feel like where they cut is fine. Like the story still works perfectly.
Exactly.
So that's good. Whereas if I think about it, Anthony Adverse, that was one of their biggest issues, is that what they cut left the story feel like unfinished. Okay, yes, I will put it at number 6.
Okay, so the new ranking is at number 7, Anthony Adverse. At number 6, Romeo and Juliet. At number 5, Libel Lady. At number 4, The Story of Louis Pasteur. Number 3, Mr. Deeds Goes to Town. Number 2, Dodsworth. And number 1, San Francisco. So this was it for our review of the 1936 movie Romeo and Juliet. If you liked what you saw, I invite you to subscribe to this channel. Comment in the comment section below. Have you ever seen this movie? If so, what did you think of it? And what is your favorite Romeo and Juliet adaptation? Let us know in the comment section below. Like this video if you did, and don't forget to go check out some of our other stuff, because this is of course a bucket list channel. We have a lot of different videos that are not just movie related. We do travel videos, self-growth, anime, lots of different stuff. Go check them out and have a nice day.